Someone said, why do we have to talk about impermanence? It's such a miserable subject. Of course, we don't have to talk about impermanence. Of course, we don't ever really talk about impermanence very much in the great scheme of things. It's not really included very much, is it? In the zeitgeist, in the conversation, the conditioned conversation doesn't really have I don't know what it is, whether it's the capacity, the depth, the wisdom to talk about the very thing that we all have in common, a great impermanence. And so in many ways, we don't have to talk about it, and it serves the small self, let's call it, the ego self, the attached self, the self that exists in the world, illusory as it might be. It certainly seems very real when it's experienced. And that self that we all know and love, it's the me. It doesn't want to talk about impermanence. It just doesn't want to talk about it because, and there's the rub, really, isn't it? It brings up, it brings up the great fear. It pulls the ground out from under us, plunges us into the unspeakable. And so we kind of unconsciously strategize and collude and avoid, play games with the denial of our impermanence. And that kind of works, yeah. It seems to me that it might work, maybe temporarily, maybe it works in our 20s, maybe it works in our 30s. But something happens on the journey, and not necessarily that old. It can happen at any time of life, because we all experience impermanence, whether we accept it, embrace it, turn towards it, know it. We all know it, but certainly as the maturation of life comes at us, or at least the aging itself, time, the inevitable happens. The inevitable loss happens, the inevitable demise of family, the inevitable loss of friends, the inevitable sagging of the body, the inevitable illness that runs through us, the inevitable kind of decay of things, or maybe just the growth of a depth of wisdom that starts to see that, hold on a minute, everything seems to disappear. Everything seems to rise up and fall. So the invitation, I would say, of impermanence, potentially anyway, gets closer and closer and closer, because ultimately impermanence is an invitation to intimacy, a great invitation to intimacy. And obviously, just as I was just saying, the threat to the ego self, the structure of ground that it stands on, is the big challenge. But if we don't face impermanence, and we'll talk about what that means, we miss something. We're missing something. We're missing the root. There's no wonder the Buddhists have it high up, their precepts, or I don't know that much, but it's there it is. Buddha nature is impermanence, is the realization of impermanence. It's fundamental to Buddhism. And so on the whatever, the non-dual path is only consciousness is real, but here we are dancing in form, and we still, even though maybe we're all an illusion on some level, still we have to face the inevitable end of the dream of self. And I think the reason why I like this kind of subject is because it gets into the juice of us, gets into the bones of us, it gets into the emotion of us. Because most of us are going to resist that inevitability. Most of us are going to resist the nature of impermanence. Not surprising, but the juice, the root is in turning towards it, turning towards it, turning towards it, as we're called by the fire to turn towards it, to turn towards it. It's not a one-shot deal, it's a dance. It's a dance that calls us.